You know, a lot of us are looking for easier ways to deal with healthcare these days.
Absolutely.
And if you've ever thought about maybe trying medical cannabis for things like chronic pain, or if you have a lot of anxiety or insomnia,
Mm-hmm.
you've probably thought about like what's the easiest way to sort of get started with that,
Definitely.
especially if you want to go a more natural route.
Right.
So today we're going to be like diving deep into this company, Doctors of Cannabis,
Okay.
to try and understand like how do you actually get a medical marijuana card online and what does that process look like?
Sounds good.
So, to start off, like, what is Doctors of Cannabis?
Well, you'll usually see them written as DOC.
Okay.
They basically present themselves as this online hub that connects people with doctors who can recommend cannabis.
Gotcha.
One of the first things you notice on their site is they really emphasize that they have experienced physicians.
Mm-hmm.
And they also offer a money-back guarantee if you don't end up qualifying, which is interesting.
Okay, so let's say I live in a state where this is even an option. They list a bunch of them on their site.
Yeah, they've got a pretty wide reach.
Arkansas, California, Florida, like all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the actual steps that you would take to go through this process?
Well, the first thing they emphasize is convenience.
Okay.
So you book an appointment online,
Gotcha.
and they talk a lot about how this virtual approach makes things more accessible.
Sure.
And they also highlight how it's secure for your health information.
That makes sense.
They mentioned they're HIPAA compliant.
Okay.
So it seems like they're taking those privacy concerns pretty seriously.
So you don't have to actually go into an office or anything like that.
Exactly. It's all done virtually.
So once you book that appointment online, then what happens?
So the next step is actually talking to a doctor directly. It's
Okay,
not just a questionnaire or anything.
Yeah.
They say these are all board-certified physicians.
Mm-hmm.
So these doctors are going to take the time to understand your concerns and answer any questions you might have specifically about medical marijuana as a treatment option.
Gotcha.
So you're actually getting that one-on-one interaction
That's good.
with a physician, which seems to be a big part of their process.
So after you've had that consultation and the doctor thinks it's appropriate for you,
Right.
how do you actually get the card?
That's the last step.
Okay.
So Doctors of Cannabis says once you're approved,
Mm-hmm.
they send you the card and they follow the standard timeline for your specific state.
So it could vary depending on where you live.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And once you get that card in the mail, then you can go to dispensaries in your state
Yeah.
and legally buy medical cannabis.
So it seems like their whole thing is speed and ease.
Yeah, that seems to be a big selling point for them.
They even say that you can potentially get certified online in just a few minutes.
Wow.
And they offer that money back guarantee too.
Right?
And one thing that really stuck out to me when I was looking at their website is that they seem to be really focused on providing relief for conditions, like I mentioned before,
And chronic pain?
anxiety, sleep issues.
Yeah.
And they really frame cannabis as a natural alternative, especially compared to things like opioids.
I see what you mean.
So what is their overall mission?
They seem to be positioning themselves as a provider of what they call exceptional care.
Okay.
And they want to help people explore those potential health benefits of cannabis, but do it confidently and with support along the way.
Right. And I also noticed that they specifically mention helping people move away from relying on potentially addictive prescription medications.
Interesting.
So it seems like that's something that they're really passionate about.
Definitely.
So for someone listening right now who's like, okay, this sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
What's the best way to learn more or to actually contact Doctors of Cannabis?
Well, they give you two main ways to reach out.
Okay.
Their email is info@docsofcannabis.com,
Okay.
and their phone number is 405-454-8703.
Awesome. So if anybody wants to learn more, they can just contact them directly through those channels.
Exactly.
So just to recap everything we've talked about today,
Mm.
based on what we've seen from Doctors of Cannabis, the process of potentially getting a medical marijuana card online basically involves a quick online registration
Okay.
and then a virtual consultation with one of their licensed physicians.
Right.
And if you're approved, they mail you your medical card,
Yep.
and they really highlight how streamlined it is.
Yeah, they make it seem pretty simple.
They've got that money back guarantee,
Uh-huh.
and they really seem to be focusing on providing cannabis as a natural option for all sorts of health concerns.
It's definitely an interesting approach.
It is.
And what's really fascinating to me is that we're seeing more and more of these online platforms popping up,
Yeah,
and they're playing a bigger role in how people access medical treatments.
for sure.
So it makes you wonder, as these virtual pathways become more common,
Hmm.
not just for medical cannabis, but maybe for other therapies as well,
Right.
what kind of changes are we going to see in how healthcare is delivered
Yeah.
and how people think about healthcare?
It's an interesting thing to think about.
It really is, and it also makes you think about what kind of questions you have
Mm.
about the specific regulations and the availability of this in your own local area.
Exactly, because every state is different.
Right.
So definitely do your research.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks for diving deep into this with me today.
No problem. It was interesting.
And for everyone listening, we'll catch you on the next Step Dive.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.